Hey y'all, welcome back. So today we are going to do maybe a little bit of stitching tutorial on this cross stitch I received from SevenGreat. And if you're interested in trying one of their cross stitch patterns, I do have a discount code for 6% off of any purchase. So I hope you check them out, because I'm really enjoying this cross stitch and it is turning out beautifully, which I will post pictures as I go during this project. And this kit, as I said in my previous video, includes pretty much everything you need. It does not include the rings, which I have separately, but you can buy them on the SevenGreat website. It also did not include the scissors, which you can also buy on their website. And they have some gorgeous ones, y'all. So here I'm just showing you a little bit of what you need to do this cross stitch. And here I have actually gone ahead and made little tabs to put on my colors so that I can easily find which color I need and I don't have to search for it. Which it didn't come with the kit, but I went ahead and did that on my own because that's just how I like my cross stitches to be. It also put on the back the number that's next to the DMC number, so I know which threads to use when indicated on the pattern. And here we're just looking at the pattern itself, just to get an idea of where we're at. And on this page too, there are the instruction manual, which we'll go over in just a second. So here it says that this is an 11 Aida and how to separate your threads, because this particular pattern uses 3 threads instead of the normal 2. And then it just goes through and shows you each thing and how to read your pattern. And then it just gives you all the little indications on what to do and how to start your work. So it pretty much gives you an in-depth idea of what you're supposed to do. And here is the different cross stitch that you can do, the different stitches, and it gives you the names of each stitches. For this particular pattern, we're only using the cross stitch and none of the special stitches. So that's particularly nice. So on this pattern, you see there are where the large colors are, that is called blocking, and then where all these little smaller colors are, and it's kind of dotted all around, that is called confetti. So this pattern does have both blocking stitches and confetti kind of stitches. And the confetti stitches give you kind of a depth kind of effect in your cross stitch, which is very pretty. And so I'm unscrewing the ring, the sewing ring, and we're going to go ahead and put it on where we're going to start our project. Now, y'all, when you first get these and you first start a cross stitch, the fabric is actually very, very stiff and not real pliable. So when you first start it, it's kind of hard to put the rings on, but if you work it a little bit, you will eventually get it. Now, I gave up on this ring because I couldn't get it to stay on just because of the way this ring is made. But as the fabric gets a little more pliable as I work it, I will be able to use this ring. So I do go ahead and get a different ring and put it on. But once you get the ring on, then you're going to tighten it up just so that you can have a flat surface to work on and it's nice and tight. And I do apologize, my dog is acting goofy, barking at the neighbors. So here I went ahead and got a different ring and got it on the fabric. And I'm tightening it up. So now we are ready to go and start our stitching. And I will say that I really don't use the needle threader. I don't need it. And I've never really learned how to use one the right way. So there's that. But you can figure out online how to use those needle threaders if you so choose to use that. And I'm going to start working on this project in the bottom corner where you can actually start it anywhere you so feel like it. And here I am just going to put my guide where I can see it to match colors up so that I can start my first color, which according to this pattern is going to be black, which is DMC 310. And I am just going to look for that color, see the color code on there. I went ahead and put those color codes on there so make my life easier. But anyway, I'm going to pull out one long strand of DMC 310. And these strings come with 6 threads in each piece. So I'm going to pull out one piece, and then I'm going to divide that into 3 strands. Well, really 2 strands, but there will be three strands of thread in each piece. And then put the extra back onto the little card so I don't lose it. And then we will go ahead and thread our needle using the 3 strands that I have put together. Now, I did make a little flub up because when I use 2 strands, I usually double it over to make a loop on one end to secure my fabric, to secure the thread to my fabric. And for some reason, I was thinking I was doing a 2 strand, and instead I was doing a 3 strand. So I did have to go back and fix where I messed up securing the thread to my fabric. And you can secure your thread any number of ways, and I'll show you one way to start with, and then I'll show you another way, and then later I will show you another way how to secure those strands. So there are 3 ways, but everybody has their own way of securing the strands once they get going on a project. So here I'm just lining up the edges of my thread, or the ends of my thread, so that they're all pretty much the same length before I put them on the needle. And you want to do that because it makes it a lot easier to put it on the needle than if you had 3 threads that weren't quite lined up on the end. And I'm just going to show you where the loop is on the end. You really don't need that loop for a cross stitch that has 3 thread instead of 2, but for some reason I just left it like that. And it did cause me a little bit of issue securing my thread at first, but then I figured it out. I just tied a knot in it and kept on going. So y'all, that means if you make a mistake, it's always super easy to go back and fix it. And here I am just showing you that what we're going to do is we're going to run the thread from that corner all the way to the edge of that red spot, making X's as we go. And I will pull it through the very first little hole that is in this thread. And yes, this thread does have holes in it. I'm sorry, canvas, not thread. But when you pull the thread through, you can see where each little hole is. And here I'm just going to hold on to the end of that thread and run it through diagonally the next hole above it. And then I'm going to hold that thread down to secure it. And you see where I looped it? That's actually what I do to secure a 2-thread floss and not the 3-thread. So I had to go back and fix that, and I just fixed it by tying a knot in it and just continuing. But so your next step will be to make sure it's secure. So here I just go ahead and tie a knot in it to secure it and say to heck with it, because I wasn't going to fight with it. And I will say it's very rare that I actually do it that way. So the next one, the next stitch, will be going up to the bottom next to the original hole that I went into, and then pulling it up, and then going back down to the next one on the bottom. And that will create an X or cross, whichever one you want to call it. And then we will just subsequently go on down the row, doing the same thing. Now you want to make sure that all of your stitches are going the same way. So the bottom part of your cross will be going diagonally one way all the way through the entire project. The top stitch you will want to make sure is going the opposite way through the entire project. And the more uniform your stitches are in that manner, the better off your project will look in the end. So here I am just sewing in that extra end underneath my stitches to secure it even further than what I already have. And of course, if you have any questions about what I'm doing or how I'm doing it, feel free to leave me a comment or hit me up, and I will try to explain as much as I can to help you through your project. Now I am going to go ahead and let you watch until I reach the end of this thread, And then I'm going to give you an idea of how to tie it off at the end so that you can start a new thread. So a little pointer is that when you pull your threads out and go to secure it into the next cross stitch hole, you want to pull your thread kind of tight, but not so tight that it puckers your fabric, but tight enough that the stitch lays flat on the fabric, if that makes any sense. Because you really want your stitches to be as flush to the fabric as possible for a very smooth kind of look. And you'll see I have that thread underneath a little bit knotted, but that's okay. If that happens, we will go through and talk about ways later to unknot your thread. But for now, just don't worry about it. If it happens, just keep going. But I will say the longer the thread is that you're working with, the more chance you have of your thread knotting before you can use it. So I usually cut my thread in half before I start. And that would be for the entire strand that is coming off of your pile over there of extra thread. Just cut that in half and then divide into your 3 pieces. I probably should have said that earlier. So here I'm showing you I had a little piece of the end come back up, and I'm just going to pull it out just gently from the back side so it's not showing on the front side. Just in case that does happen to you. And you can go back and trim that off after you've pulled it back into the right place, like I'm about to do here. Once you have that thread secured onto the back side, and here I'm just showing you where that thread is open on one end. You can change that and pull it out as you go, just to make the thread a little bit shorter and easier to work with. Or you can make it longer, whichever so you choose. But making it shorter will help ensure that you don't get tangles in the thread as you're working it. So now I have reached the end of this particular line of stitches, and I am going to go up on top of the very end and work my stitches backwards, but still making sure that all of my stitches are facing the same way on the bottom, and then going back and making sure that my stitch on top is going the opposite direction, again to make that stitch an X, if you can see that right here. I know I'm kind of off camera a little bit, but it was really hard to do the stitching and be on camera at the same time. Okay, so now we have stitched to the end of that thread that's on my needle, and we're going to go ahead and tie that off. So what I do is I go back to the back side, and then I run my needle through 4 or 5 of the stitches that I've already done on the back, and I do that twice, and that should secure your thread so that you can cut the end and then go ahead for your next strand of thread. And again, you'll want to pull that end tight, but not so tight that it puckers your fabric. And then go ahead and start again with your next thread length. And you're going to go in and again start in the back and start on the bottom, and then work your way sideways to the hole underneath it. And then again, the next stitch will be over the top of that one and go the opposite direction. Now you see where I left that that little strand of thread right there, you want to leave a little tail there so you can secure that. And this is the second way I'm going to show you how to secure that thread. So I looped it around and then I pull it through, and that should secure your thread in the back. And then you just continue stitching. I will say that was actually the third way that I showed you to secure your thread. The first way is running a loop through the thread and then securing it through that loop. And then the second way was you can just tie a knot in the thread, which I don't really suggest is the best way to do it. The way I just did it is actually the best way to do it, in my opinion. But you make up your mind how you want to secure your own, and everybody has a different way to do it. This is just how I do it. And again, I'm just going to work that straight line all the way across, and then I will go to the end of that line and work backwards again until I have filled up that whole area of red. So this is mainly the gist of how to do a cross stitch. And here is what I have gotten accomplished so far. And I have a little help with my work today. And Milo is just patiently waiting for me to finish.